The alarm screamed across Earth's orbital defense platforms as massive alien warships materialized from hyperspace. Admiral Blake Torres watched the holographic displays in the command center with grim satisfaction. 12 enormous vessels hung in space like dark predators, their hulls bristling with weapons that could vaporize entire cities. The hegemony had finally come to collect. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the lead vessel," reported Lieutenant Kim at the communications station. Her voice trembled despite her training. "Put it through," Torres commanded, straightening his uniform. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of Supreme Commander Vash, his reptilian features twisted in arrogance. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship buzzed with activity. "Humans of Earth," Vash's voice boomed through the speakers, each word dripping with contempt. "You have violated the Galactic Accords by constructing military vessels beyond your permitted quota. The Hegemony Council demands immediate surrender of your fleet and submission to galactic justice." Torres stepped forward, his weathered face calm despite the overwhelming odds. "Commander Vash, Earth's defense fleet consists of exactly 12 vessels, as permitted by the treaty we signed 50 years ago. Do not insult my intelligence, human." Vash snarled, his claws clicking against his command console. "Our deep space sensors have detected massive energy signatures emanating from your system. Shipyard construction, weapons testing, fleet movements." On the tactical displays surrounding Torres, Earth's 12 official defense ships hung motionless near the moon. They looked pathetically small compared to the alien dreadnoughts. Outdated vessels barely capable of defending against pirates, let alone a hegemony assault force. "I assure you, Commander, we have honored every aspect of our agreement," Torres replied, his tone respectful but firm. Vash leaned forward, his yellow eyes blazing with fury. "Then explain these readings." The screen split, showing sensor data that painted Torres's blood cold. Energy signatures that dwarfed Earth's official fleet. Power readings that suggested massive hidden shipyards. Gravitational distortions that indicated the presence of enormous structures. "You have 30 minutes to produce your illegal fleet," Vash continued, "or we will begin orbital bombardment of your major cities, starting with the North American Federation capital." The transmission cut off, leaving the command center in tense silence. Around Torres, his staff worked frantically at their stations, coordinating evacuation procedures and defense protocols that everyone knew were utterly inadequate. "Sir," whispered Commander Sarah Chen, Torres' second-in-command, "should we contact the hidden fleet?" Torres glanced around the room, noting which personnel had full security clearance and which did not. The secret that Earth had guarded for 5 decades hung heavy in the air like a loaded weapon. "Not yet," he murmured. "Let's see how committed they are to this course of action." Outside the windows of the command station, Earth turned slowly beneath them, its blue surface dotted with the lights of billions of people who had no idea their world balanced on the edge of annihilation. The hegemony ships maintained their positions, weapons charged and ready. Lieutenant Kim looked up from her station, sweat beading on her forehead. "Admiral, the hegemony vessels are scanning our surface. Deep penetration scans. They're looking for something specific." "What kind of specific?" Torres asked, though he suspected he already knew. "Military installations, shipyards, any structure capable of producing or housing large vessels." Torres nodded grimly. The aliens were thorough. He had to give them that. Their scans would find exactly what the treaty allowed them to find and nothing more. The real question was whether they would accept that evidence or press their attack regardless. "Sir," reported Tactical Officer Martinez from across the room, "we're detecting movement in the hegemony formation. 3 ships breaking off from the main group, heading for low orbit over major population centers." "Demonstration of force," Torres observed. "They want us to see what they're capable of." The massive alien ships moved with graceful menace, their hulls reflecting Earth's sunlight like polished obsidian. Each vessel was easily 5 times larger than Earth's biggest official warship, packed with technology that made human defenses look like stone tools. "Admiral," Chen said quietly, "if they do begin bombardment—" "They won't," Torres interrupted, though his confidence was more hope than certainty. "Not immediately. They want our hidden fleet more than they want our destruction." "And if we don't have a hidden fleet?" asked Martinez. Torres smiled grimly. "Then in 25 minutes we're going to find out just how much the galaxy has underestimated humanity." On the displays, countdown timers marked the remaining time until Vash's deadline. 29 minutes 28, each second bringing Earth closer to a moment that would change everything. The hegemony had come expecting to find a small, rebellious colony hiding a few illegal warships. Instead, they were about to discover something that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. All stations, prepare for transmission to the outer system monitoring posts. Torres commanded. And get me a direct line to Admiral Rodriguez. Which Admiral Rodriguez, sir? Asked Kim. Torres's smile widened. The one they don't know exists. The command center fell silent except for the hum of equipment and the steady countdown of the deadline timer. Outside, the hegemony ships waited like patient executioners, confident in their overwhelming superiority. They had no idea that somewhere in the darkness beyond Neptune, things that should not exist were beginning to stir. Admiral, Chen reported, connection established with Outer Fleet Command. Good, Torres replied, settling into his command chair. Let's show our guests what humanity has been doing for the past 50 years. The countdown timer reached 25 minutes and continued falling. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn that Earth had been busy. Admiral Rodriguez sat in the command center of humanity's most closely guarded secret. Deep in the asteroid belt, hidden within what appeared to be a natural rock formation, the Titan shipyard hummed with activity. Through reinforced viewports, she could see the sleek forms of warships that officially did not exist. Admiral, we're receiving the activation signal from Earth, reported Captain Davis, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. Around them, the command center's displays showed tactical information that would have terrified the Hegemony Council if they had known it existed. How long since first contact with the Hegemony fleet? Rodriguez asked, her voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. 12 minutes ago. Admiral Torres reports they've given us 30 minutes to surrender our illegal fleet or face orbital bombardment. Rodriguez almost smiled. If only they knew. Status of hidden fleet formations? Alpha Group maintains position at Neptune. Beta Group is holding at Jupiter. Gamma Group remains in the outer asteroid belt. Davis paused, consulting his displays. All vessels report ready for immediate deployment. And the Hegemony ships? 12 heavy cruisers, standard Hegemony design. Impressive by galactic standards. Against our official defense fleet, they would represent overwhelming force. But not against our actual fleet, Rodriguez observed. No, ma'am. Not even close. For 50 years, humanity had played the role of compliant junior member of galactic civilization. They had signed treaties limiting their military capabilities, accepted restrictions on their territorial expansion, and endured condescending treatment from species that considered them primitive newcomers. What the galaxy didn't know was that humans were very good at finding loopholes. The treaties limited Earth's official fleet to 12 vessels of approved specifications. They said nothing about vessels constructed outside Earth's immediate orbit. They restricted the use of certain technologies, but not the development of entirely new ones. Most importantly, they assumed humanity would be content to remain weak. Bring up the tactical displays, Rodriguez commanded. I want to see what we're working with. The command center's main screen divided into sections, each showing a different fleet formation. At Neptune, 36 vessels of revolutionary design waited in perfect formation. At Jupiter, another 48 ships maintained patrol patterns that would have been impossible with conventional technology. Throughout the outer system, over 200 human warships hung in space like sleeping giants. The Hegemony sensors read these signatures as natural phenomena, Davis reported. Asteroid movements, gravitational anomalies, solar wind interactions. Our stealth technology is holding perfectly. Of course it is, Rodriguez replied. We've had 5 decades to perfect it. The ships displayed on her screens bore no resemblance to the crewed vessels in Earth's official fleet. These were products of humanity's true technological advancement, incorporating discoveries that the galaxy's established powers hadn't even imagined. Faster-than-light engines that left no detectable signature, weapons that could penetrate any known shield technology, armor that adapted to incoming attacks. Admiral, interrupted Communications Officer Park. We're receiving an urgent transmission from Earth. Supreme Commander Vash has launched 3 ships toward population centers. Admiral Torres requests clarification on response protocols. Rodriguez studied the tactical situation on her displays. The Hegemony commander was following standard intimidation doctrine, applying pressure to force compliance. He expected humanity to fold under the threat of civilian casualties. He was about to learn how wrong that assumption was. "Signal all fleet commanders," Rodriguez ordered. "Operation Daylight is authorized." "Begin Phase 1 deployment." "Phase 1 deployment, aye," Davis confirmed, his fingers flying across his controls. Throughout the hidden shipyard, alert signals began flashing. In the outer system, dormant vessels began powering up their systems. On Rodriguez's displays, the hidden fleet began to move. Ships that had waited in darkness for decades emerged from concealment, like predators emerging from tall grass. The stealth fields that had hidden them for 50 years flickered and died as they prepared for combat. "Estimated time to Earth intercept?" Rodriguez asked. "Alpha Group can reach Earth orbit in 14 minutes. Beta Group in 18. Full fleet deployment will take approximately 30 minutes. "More than enough time," Rodriguez observed with satisfaction. The hegemony ships orbiting Earth had no idea what was heading their way. Their sensors would detect the approaching fleet eventually, but by then it would be far too late. The ships bearing down on them represented technology that was decades ahead of anything in the galactic database. "Ma'am," Park reported, "Admiral Torres is requesting permission to reveal the fleet's existence to the hegemony commander." "Denied," Rodriguez replied immediately. "Vash needs to see them, not hear about them. Actions speak louder than words, especially with hegemony commanders." "Yes, ma'am." Rodriguez stood and walked to the main viewport, looking out at her hidden fleet as it prepared for its first real deployment. Ships that had been constructed in secret, tested in deep space, and crewed by volunteers who had sworn oaths of silence. For 50 years, they had been humanity's greatest secret. Now they would become the galaxy's greatest surprise. "Admiral," Davis called out, "Alpha Group is reporting successful engine ignition. They're beginning acceleration toward Earth." "Excellent. Signal Admiral Torres. Tell him the cavalry is coming." On her displays, Rodriguez watched as humanity's hidden fleet burst forth from concealment across the solar system. Ships emerged from behind asteroids, rose from planetary shadows, and materialized from empty space where advanced stealth technology had hidden them for decades. The hegemony had come expecting to find a few illegal warships. Instead, they were about to encounter a fleet that would redefine the balance of power in the galaxy. "Time to hegemony detection of our approach?" Rodriguez asked. "Approximately 8 minutes," Davis replied. "Their sensors are good, but they're not expecting ships with our capabilities. And when they do detect us, they'll probably assume we're asteroids or natural phenomena. Right up until we drop stealth and reveal ourselves." Rodriguez smiled grimly. Supreme Commander Vash was about to receive the shock of his life. The primitive humans he had come to intimidate were about to demonstrate just how primitive they actually weren't. "All ships report ready for combat," Davis announced. "Weapon systems online, shields at maximum. Stealth systems prepared for deactivation on your command." "Perfect," Rodriguez replied. "Let's give the galaxy something to think about." The hidden fleet raced through space toward Earth, carrying with it 50 years of human ingenuity, determination, and careful preparation. The hegemony ships waiting at Earth had no idea that their overwhelming advantage was about to become a desperate disadvantage. Humanity's long masquerade was finally over. Supreme Commander Vash watched the countdown timer reach 5 minutes with growing satisfaction. The humans had remained silent since his ultimatum, their pathetic defense fleet motionless near Earth's moon. Soon he would demonstrate the price of defying the hegemony. "Commander," reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Zek, "the 3 ships approaching population centers are in position. We can begin bombardment on your order." "Excellent," Vash replied, settling deeper into his command throne. "These humans need to learn their place in the galactic order." The bridge of his flagship, the Dominion, buzzed with activity as his crew prepared for what they expected to be a brief and decisive action. Around them, displays showed Earth hanging vulnerable in space, its 12 obsolete defense ships posing no meaningful threat. "Sir," called out sensor operator Thrix from her station, "I'm detecting some unusual readings from the outer system." Vash barely glanced in her direction. "Define unusual." "Gravitational fluctuations near Neptune. Energy signatures that don't match any known natural phenomena. Probably solar wind interactions," Vash dismissed. "Focus on the planet. Are there any signs of hidden installations?" "Negative, sir. Our deep scans confirm no military installations beyond what the treaty allows." Vash nodded with satisfaction. The humans were exactly what they appeared to be, a weak, technologically backward species that had been foolish enough to challenge their betters. "Commander," Thrix reported again, her voice more urgent, "the anomalous readings are intensifying. Multiple contacts throughout the outer system." "Contacts?" Vash finally turned toward the sensor station. "What kind of contacts?" "Unknown, sir. The patterns suggest artificial objects, but the signatures don't match anything in our database." Before Vash could respond, his communications officer interrupted. "Sir, transmission from Earth, Admiral Torres requesting to speak with you." "Put him through," Vash commanded, curious what desperate plea the human would make. Torres appeared on the main screen, his expression calm despite his hopeless situation. "Commander Vash, I believe we need to clarify a few things about Earth's military capabilities." "The time for clarification has passed, human," Vash snarled. "You have 3 minutes to surrender or watch your cities burn." "Actually," Torres replied with what looked suspiciously like a smile, "I think you're the one who needs to surrender." The bridge fell silent. Vash's officers exchanged glances of disbelief. "You dare threaten the hegemony with your dozen obsolete ships?" "Not with those ships," Torres said. "With these ones." The screen split, showing tactical displays that made Vash's blood run cold. Across the solar system, massive ships were emerging from concealment, ships that dwarfed his own vessels, moving with impossible speed and coordination. "Impossible," breathed Lieutenant Zek. "Where did they come from?" On the displays, humanity's hidden fleet materialized like ghosts becoming solid. Near Neptune, a formation of enormous dreadnoughts broke stealth, their hulls gleaming with unknown alloys. Around Jupiter, sleek cruisers revealed themselves in numbers that defied comprehension. Throughout the asteroid belt, destroyer squadrons emerged from hiding places that shouldn't have existed. "Sir," Thrix reported, her voice shaking, "I count over 200 contacts, all of unknown design, all heading this way." Vash stared at the displays in shock. The sensor readings showed vessels with energy outputs that exceeded his entire fleet combined. Ships with configurations that suggested technology far beyond galactic standards. "This is a trick," he managed. "Holographic projections, sensor ghosts." "I'm afraid not," Torres replied from the screen. "Admiral Rodriguez, please provide a demonstration." One of the approaching human ships, a sleek vessel half the size of Vash's flagship, suddenly accelerated to impossible speed. In seconds, it covered a distance that should have taken minutes, stopping precisely between Vash's fleet and Earth. "Impossible," Zek whispered. "That acceleration should have pulped any biological crew. Unless they have inertial dampening technology we've never seen," Thrix added. The human ship began a complex series of maneuvers that violated everything Vash understood about space combat. It spun, twisted, and changed direction at speeds that should have torn it apart, demonstrating capabilities that made hegemony vessels look like ancient relics. "Sir," reported his weapons officer, "that ship's energy signature suggests shields and weapons far beyond our specifications." Vash found his voice again. "How many ships do you have?" he demanded of Torres. "Enough," Torres replied simply. "The question is, Commander, what do you intend to do about it?" On the tactical displays, more human ships were arriving every minute. The approaching fleet showed coordination and technology that suggested decades of development. These weren't hastily constructed vessels. They were the product of long-term planning and resources that the hegemony had never suspected. "This is impossible," Vash repeated. "Our intelligence networks monitor every species. We know your capabilities." "You know what we wanted you to know," Torres corrected. "For 50 years, humanity has been building, learning, and preparing. We honored every treaty, followed every restriction, and stayed within every boundary you set for us." "Then where did these ships come from?" "From outside those boundaries," Torres said with evident satisfaction. "Your treaties restricted construction near Earth. They said nothing about the outer system. They limited our official fleet to 12 ships, but said nothing about unofficial ones." Vash realized with growing horror that humanity had found loopholes in every restriction the hegemony had imposed. While appearing to comply with galactic law, they had been building a secret fleet that now outnumbered his own forces by nearly 20 to 1. "Sir," Zek reported urgently, "the lead human formation will reach weapons range in 2 minutes." Vash looked at his tactical displays with despair. His 12 ships, impressive by any normal standard, looked pathetically inadequate against the approaching human armada. Ships with unknown capabilities, weapons of unprecedented power, and technology that defied explanation. "Commander," Torres said from the screen. "I'm going to give you the same choice you gave us. You have 2 minutes to withdraw from Earthspace, or we will consider your presence a hostile act." "You wouldn't dare attack hegemony ships," Vash blustered. "The entire galaxy would declare war on you." "The entire galaxy," Torres replied calmly, "is about to learn that humanity is no longer the weak species they remember." On his displays, Vash watched as humanity's secret fleet took up positions around his ships, vessels of impossible capability surrounding his force like wolves circling prey. For the first time in his military career, Supreme Commander Vash faced an enemy with clear technological superiority. "Sir," Thrix reported quietly, "more ships are still arriving. Current count is 247 vessels." Vash closed his eyes. The humans had played the greatest deception in galactic history, appearing weak while building strength that now threatened to reshape the balance of power throughout known space. "Your orders, sir?" asked Zek. Vash opened his eyes and looked at the impossible fleet surrounding his ships. Humanity had just announced itself as a major galactic power, and he was the first to learn what that meant. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in chaos. Representatives from across known space filled the great assembly hall on Nexus Prime, their voices creating a cacophony of fear and outrage. The holographic displays showed the same impossible images: humanity's massive fleet surrounding the retreating hegemony ships. Chancellor Mex of the Council Authority called for order with little success. "Representatives, please. We must address this crisis systematically." "Crisis?" roared Ambassador Corix of the hegemony, his scaled fists slamming against his podium. "This is an act of war. The humans have violated every treaty, broken every agreement." "Have they?" asked Ambassador Liar of the Free Worlds Alliance, her crystalline form shimmering with barely contained energy. "I've reviewed the relevant documents. The humans appear to have found legal loopholes in every restriction we imposed." "Legal loopholes?" Corix's voice cracked with fury. "They've built a fleet that outnumbers the entire hegemony navy." On the chamber's main display, tactical analysis of the human fleet played on continuous loop. Ships of unknown design performing maneuvers that defied conventional physics, weapons that generated energy signatures beyond anything in the galactic database, technology that suggested humanity had leaped centuries ahead in just 50 years. "The question," said Ambassador Nex of the Syndicate Worlds, "is how this happened without our knowledge." "Our intelligence services are investigating," reported Director Kelt of Galactic Security. "Preliminary analysis suggests the humans have been conducting operations throughout their outer system for decades. Operations we somehow failed to detect," Chancellor Mex observed dryly. "Their stealth technology appears to be beyond our current capabilities," Kelt admitted reluctantly. "We're dealing with innovations that don't appear in any known technological database." Ambassador Vex of the Core Worlds leaned forward. "Are we certain these are human vessels? Could they have received assistance from an outside power?" "All ships show human design characteristics," Kelt replied. "Energy signatures consistent with human technology, albeit far more advanced than anything we believed they possessed." 50 years, whispered Ambassador Teln of the Research Coalition. "They've had 50 years to develop in secret while we assumed they were struggling with basic spaceflight." "We need to consider our options," Chancellor Mex declared. "The balance of power in the galaxy has fundamentally shifted." "Our options are clear," Corix snarled. "We mobilize the combined fleets of the Council and eliminate this threat before it grows stronger." "With what?" asked Liar. "The humans currently have more capital ships than the 3 largest Council fleets combined." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. For centuries, the Galactic Council had maintained peace through overwhelming superiority. No single species had possessed the military strength to challenge the established order. Now humanity had not only achieved that strength but had done so in complete secrecy. "Director Kelt," Chancellor Mex said, "what are your analysts telling us about human intentions?" Kelt consulted his data tablet with obvious reluctance. "Their fleet positions are entirely defensive. No ships have left the Sol system. No aggressive actions have been taken beyond forcing the withdrawal of hegemony vessels. They're waiting," observed Ambassador Nex. "The question is, waiting for what?" "Perhaps," suggested a new voice, "they're waiting for us to stop panicking and start talking." The chamber turned toward the speaker, Ambassador Elena Vasquez of Earth. humanity's representative to the Galactic Council. She had sat quietly through the emergency session, allowing the other representatives to exhaust themselves with recriminations and fear. "You have some explaining to do." "Human," Corex growled. "I have some clarifying to do," Vasquez corrected. "The explanations will come from people with much higher security clearance than mine." She activated her personal communicator. "Admiral Torres, the Council is ready to hear from you." The main display shifted to show Torres aboard what was clearly a human vessel, though the bridge around him looked unlike anything in the galactic databases. Advanced displays, sleek interfaces, and crew members moving with the confidence of people who knew they commanded superior technology. "Members of the Galactic Council," Torres began. "I am Admiral Blake Torres, commanding officer of Earth's Defense Fleet. I believe we need to have a conversation about humanity's role in galactic civilization." "Your role is what we defined it to be 50 years ago," Corex snapped. "A junior species with limited military capabilities and restricted territorial rights." "That definition," Torres replied calmly, "was based on incomplete information." He gestured, and new displays appeared throughout the chamber. Technical specifications that made several representatives gasp. Ship designs that incorporated technologies the Council's best scientists had deemed theoretical. Weapon systems that could penetrate any known defense. "For 50 years, Torres continued, humanity has honored every treaty and followed every restriction placed upon us. We have also used that time to develop capabilities that ensure we can defend ourselves if those treaties prove insufficient." "You deceived us," accused Ambassador Vex. "We prepared ourselves," Torres corrected. "There's a difference." Chancellor Mex leaned forward. "Admiral, what are humanity's intentions? Are you planning expansion? Conquest?" "We're planning survival," Torres replied. "You see, while building our hidden fleet, we also developed long-range sensors far superior to anything currently in use. And those sensors have detected things that concern us greatly." New images appeared on the displays, star charts showing the known galaxy with markers indicating Council territories. But beyond the familiar boundaries, new markers appeared in red. "Dozens of them, hundreds. Unknown contacts," Torres explained. "Energy signatures that don't match any known civilization. Some appear to be massive construction projects. Others suggest fleets moving through deep space." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Ambassador Teln was studying the data with obvious alarm. "These readings suggest civilizations with technology that makes our most advanced ships look primitive." "Exactly," Torres agreed. "The galaxy is much larger and more dangerous than the Council has realized. And some of those unknown contacts appear to be moving in our direction." "Why didn't you share this information?" demanded Chancellor Mex. "We tried," Torres replied. 3 years ago, we submitted preliminary sensor data to the Council's Science Directorate. We were told that long-range exploration was outside our mandate as a junior species. 2 years ago, Ambassador Vasquez added, we requested permission to establish monitoring stations in the outer territories. The request was denied. Last year, Torres continued, we proposed a joint deep space exploration initiative, also denied. The pattern was becoming clear. Humanity had attempted to share their discoveries through official channels, only to be dismissed because of their perceived inferiority. So you decided to handle the threat yourselves, observed Ambassador Liar. We decided to prepare for it, Torres corrected. Because whether the Council believes it or not, something is coming. Multiple somethings. And when they arrive, the galaxy will need every advantage it can get. The implications settled over the chamber like a weight. Humanity had built their secret fleet not for conquest, but for defense against threats the Council didn't even know existed. The question now, Torres said, is whether we face those threats together, or whether humanity faces them alone. For the first time in the session, the chamber fell completely silent. The representatives were finally beginning to understand that humanity's revelation wasn't a threat to galactic peace. It might be galactic peace's only hope. 3 months after the revelation of humanity's hidden fleet, the galaxy had changed forever. The emergency that began with fear and accusations had evolved into something unprecedented, genuine cooperation between species that had spent centuries viewing each other with suspicion. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, humanity's newest and most advanced vessel, watching the mixed fleet formations practicing joint maneuvers in the space around Nexus Prime. Human ships flew alongside hegemony cruisers and alliance destroyers, their combined firepower representing the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. "Admiral," reported Captain Martinez from the tactical station, "the hegemony squadron has successfully integrated their targeting systems with our fire control networks." "Excellent," Rodriguez replied. "Any problems with the syndicate ships?" "Their commanders are still adjusting to our tactical doctrine, but they're learning quickly." Through the viewports, Rodriguez could see the fruits of 3 months of intensive cooperation. Ships that had never been designed to work together were now operating as a unified force. The technological exchange had been remarkable. Human innovations in stealth and propulsion paired with alien expertise in weapons and shields. "Ma'am," Communications Officer Park announced, "incoming priority transmission from the outer monitoring stations. Put it through." The main screen activated, showing Captain Williams aboard the deep space monitoring vessel Horizon. Behind him, banks of sensors tracked the dark spaces beyond known civilization. "Admiral, we've got movement on Contact Cluster 7, multiple signatures accelerating toward the galactic rim." Rodriguez studied the tactical displays with growing concern. "Time to counsel territory boundaries?" 18 months at current velocity. "But Admiral, these aren't the largest contacts we've detected." "Explain." Williams activated additional sensors, showing energy readings that dwarfed even the combined galactic fleet. "Contact Cluster 12 has begun moving. Analysis suggests individual vessels larger than our biggest battleships. Possibly larger than space stations. How many ships? Unknown. The energy signatures are so massive, they're interfering with precise counts. Minimum estimate is 300 vessels, possibly twice that number." Rodriguez felt a chill run down her spine. The unknown civilizations that humanity had detected were finally making their move, and the initial contacts suggested forces that would dwarf even the combined might of the Galactic Alliance. "Continue monitoring and report any changes." Immediately, she ordered. "Yes, ma'am." The transmission ended, leaving Rodriguez to contemplate the challenges ahead. 3 months ago, the galaxy's greatest concern had been humanity's secret fleet. Now that fleet and everything else the galaxy could muster might not be enough to face what was coming. "Admiral," Martinez reported, "incoming transmission from Chancellor Mex." The screen switched to show the Galactic Council's leader aboard his command vessel. Around him, representatives from across known space worked at coordinated defense planning. "Admiral Rodriguez," Mex began, "the Council has reviewed your latest intelligence reports. We need to accelerate our integration timeline." "How accelerated?" Rodriguez asked. "We're authorizing immediate technology transfer protocols, full sharing of all military innovations between alliance members." Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "All innovations?" The Council was hesitant to share even basic defensive systems last month. "Last month we thought we had years to prepare," Mex replied grimly. "Your monitoring stations suggest we may have months, not years." It was a remarkable transformation. The same council that had spent 50 years restricting human development was now begging for access to human technology. The same representatives who had viewed humanity as primitive newcomers were now depending on human innovations for their survival. "We're prepared to share everything," Rodriguez confirmed. "But integration will take time. Some of our technology requires fundamental changes to ship design and crew training." "We understand. But Admiral, we need to discuss something else. The unknown contacts aren't just moving toward Council space. They're moving toward Earth." Rodriguez felt her stomach drop. "Explain." Long-range trajectory analysis suggests at least 3 major contact groups have Earth as their primary destination. Not the Council worlds, not the major trade routes. Earth specifically, that makes no sense. Earth is just one world among thousands. Unless, Mex said quietly, they know something about Earth that we're only beginning to understand. The implications were staggering. The unknown civilizations weren't just expanding randomly, they were targeting humanity specifically. Either they viewed Earth as a threat that needed elimination, or they wanted something that only humanity possessed. "Chancellor," Rodriguez said, "I need to speak with Admiral Torres immediately. He's already en route to your position, along with representatives from every major council member. This is becoming a war council." "Admiral," Mex replied, "this became a war the moment those unknown contacts started moving. The question is whether we can prepare fast enough to survive it. The transmission ended, leaving Rodriguez alone with her thoughts. Outside the viewports, the combined fleets of galactic civilization continued their exercises. Species that had been enemies just months ago now working together toward a common goal. "Ma'am," Park reported, "Admiral Torres's flagship is requesting permission to dock." "Granted." "And prepare the main conference room for a full strategic planning session." As Rodriguez watched Torres's ship approach, she reflected on the strange turns that had brought them to this point. Humanity's secret fleet had been built to ensure their survival in a hostile galaxy. Now that same fleet might be the key to everyone's survival. "Admiral," Martinez called out, "we're receiving tactical updates from all fleet commanders. Everyone wants to know about the defensive preparations for Earth." Rodriguez smiled grimly. "Tell them we're about to find out just how well 50 years of paranoid preparation can serve us. The unknown civilizations, approaching from deep space, would find that humanity had spent decades expecting the worst. They had built hidden fleets, developed revolutionary technology, and prepared for threats that others couldn't even imagine. Now, with the combined resources of galactic civilization behind them, humanity was ready to face whatever emerged from the darkness between stars. The galaxy had spent 50 years underestimating human capabilities. The entities approaching from deep space were about to make the same mistake. "Ma'am," Park announced, "all senior commanders are reporting ready for the strategic planning session." "Excellent," Rodriguez replied. "Let's show the galaxy what humans do when we're properly motivated." Outside, the stars looked the same as they always had. But somewhere in the darkness beyond, ancient powers were stirring. And for the first time in galactic history, they would find a united civilization ready to meet them.